It's time for Smart Money Moves. How can you pay for college? We'll discuss different options for families to cover the cost of higher education and hear how others did it successfully. That's coming up right now on Smart Money Moves. I'm Marcia Griffin, and I am happy to welcome you to Smart Money Moves, Building Wealth for Everyday People. College tuitions continue to rise, and many feel that a college degree is still the key to a comfortable life. What do students and parents need to know about paying for college and avoiding crippling student loan debt? Here are two experts who work diligently with parents, students, and schools to ensure that paying for college will make sense for all. Keith Wilkerson, CEO and founder of College Thoughts, an organization that has helped hundreds of families navigate the college and private high school application processes. And Torry Johnson, author of A More Excellent Way, the family guide to academic success and college planning. I'd like to welcome you both to Smart Money Moves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. It is so great to have you all. Many parents, many students are traumatized by the whole process of an application. They're traumatized by getting into college. Where am I going to find the money? All of this can become so overwhelming. So, Keith, let me just start with you. When should parents and our students start preparing to pay for college, really start the application process? What do you think?
Now, it doesn't matter how old your child is, you should start now when it comes to being financially prepared. The sooner that you start working on it, the sooner that you start taking care of consumer debt, the better the financial aid process is going to run, and the better that the process of being prepared to pay for college is going to go. So the application process itself probably doesn't get really serious until about your junior year of high school, but there are
Okay.
steps that you can take to get your financial world in order right now.
Absolutely. So you should start early, huh?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Great. Tori, what one thing do parents often overlook when planning to pay for college? And I know you have a lot of experience in this area. So, what is something that parents need to think about and that they often overlook?
Well, thanks for the question, Marcia. I think families at times, and especially parents, forget that it's the entire family that's preparing for college. We often think about students only. What should my child want? How much will it cost for them? But it is a family decision. And I often encourage families to be free and comfortable talking about finances with their children early, as Keith mentioned, but also to encourage the dialogue amongst the generations. This is a conversation that should be had with grandparents, aunties and uncles. So instead of the Xbox or whatever that new thing is, they might be wanting to think about those 529 plans.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into 529. Keith, who gets the loan? Is it the parent or the student when applying for college?
That's a great question. So both are able to take out loans. The federal government puts a limit on the amount of money that students can take out, but often parents will co-sign personal loans for students. You have to be really careful. The federal government sets rates on the interest that you can get when you get a federal loan for college, but when you get a personal loan from a bank, you
Yeah.
can really end up in a tremendous amount of debt, and it can be very hard to get out of debt. You'll end up having a mortgage and not having a house. And so you have to be really careful.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I know students who have graduated with 70, 80, 90,000, even more of college debt. And it is just critical that once that kind of debt has been accumulated, that they for sure get a job that will allow them to pay for it. Now, that's a whole nother story. Torry,
Mhm.
let me get back to you. And my question is, now I know you paid for, you didn't pay, you were able to send your kids to college without any student loan debt. My question to you is, can parents with limited funds really pay for college without scholarships? How did you do it?
Yes, we looked at scholarships, grants. Will you have to work while you're on campus? Will you be able to use your internship money over the summer to augment housing? Everything has to be on the table. And I think it's really critical that people look at their budgets and figure out what is a reach for me budgetarily speaking, what fits comfortably, what might be needed as a community college
Mhm.
experience initially, and transferring to a 4-year institution. So it all depends on the family. But again, those conversations are critical early and often.
Now, when did you start with your kids? I mean, with your family talking about college? In middle school? Did you wait till high school? What?
It was really elementary and on.
Really?
You start that conversation of the preparation of the mind. We know the adage, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so we keep stoking, my wife and I, stoke that conversation when they're younger, that the end game is not just graduating from high school or just graduating from middle school. Those are great goals, great milestones, but we want to encourage them that there's another place that we want to be. And so we keep introducing that with visits, with talks, introducing our classmates as extension of the family, so that they can see that they're part of this larger community, so that by the time they get into middle and high school, it's a foregone conclusion that that's where they're going. Now it's just deciding where, how long will you be there, and how that will impact your purpose and journey in life.
Absolutely. Well, that is great. And kudos to you for the kind of planning that you did. Look, that is quite unusual, no question about it, but so necessary. And Keith, with that in mind, tell us two things that a parent or student should do when applying for college. I know that there are probably some underlining pros and cons. What do you think?
Okay. So if I was giving 2 points of advice, the first one is you need to have balance in your list. So
Okay.
bear in mind that while a lot of students want to always talk about the top schools and the Ivies only do need-based financial aid. And what the federal government thinks of as financial need and what you think of as financial need may not be the same thing. The federal government may think that what you need is a lot less than what you see in your budget, because a lot of people make money that they don't own. And so if you don't own your money, your assessment and what you're able to do aren't going to work. So that's the first thing. Have balance
Mhm.
in your list, because schools that want you more than you want them are more likely to offer you merit-based aid. That's number one. Number two is that you should always be willing to appeal an award. If you get a financial aid award and you think that you have extra information to share about why you can't afford that financial aid package, you should be willing to present that. But just bear in mind, schools want to hear numbers, not passion. So tell them in the numbers why it doesn't work and see if they can make an adjustment to make it work for you.
So you can actually go back to the school or the financer and ask them for more scholarship money. I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah, you can always appeal, but when you appeal, school's normally asking you to present new information. So, are there medical expenses that you didn't mention? Is
Yeah.
grandma staying with you? And the financial aid form didn't ask about that. What are the extraneous financial expenses you have that are changing your financial picture? And then share that information. But just bear in mind that consumer debt is not a part of that equation. So, if I have $30,000 in credit card debt, the college is not going to pay for my shoes, but the college will help
Yeah.
with other types of expenses.
Well, going back to you, Torry, why did you write this book, A More Excellent Way? What really predicated your decision to spend time to write this in addition to everything else that you're doing?
Well, over the years, I've been fortunate to have conversations with classmates and what I like to call family, that mixture of our friends and family and acquaintances. Um, and to your point earlier, they're really struggling. There's a lot of anxiety for parents and for students alike. What am I going to do about this college thing? I know I can maybe get into college, but how in the world will we pay for it? Will we need to take 10 jobs? Will we have to mortgage the house? And so there's a lot of concern in that space. And so for years, almost 2 decades or more, I've had the privilege of being able to share with families in tutoring spaces and mentoring and coaching spaces, and ultimately talking about what's academic success, what could it look like for you and your family, and then how does that parlay into an experience of getting ready for college. And once you demystify some of these things, which in our communities can be taboo. People don't like to talk about their money. They don't like to
That's
talk
right.
about my bank account. But when we start to pull the covers off and we have very frank discussions, I think it can help people because to your point earlier, Marcia, people are mortgaging far more than their house. They're mortgaging futures. Students are taking on so much debt that they can't even work in the fields that they want to because they've
Mhm.
got to pay these loans off. And so we just talk about in this book our experiences as a family, what we set out to do, how we established structure, and how we as a family celebrated along the way, even paying these bills. Family text every quarter when we said, you know what, we just paid off a quarter or a semester. Celebrate in a virtual high five. We've only got X more quarters to pay. So it became a really nice experience for all of us.
Absolutely. Tell us very quickly what you did. Just give us an example, Tori, of what you did for one kid to get them through college without any debt.
Sure thing. So, for one of our daughters, our oldest one went to an HBCU, and we were looking for money. She was did a fantastic job academically, 4.0. But as Keith and others know, that doesn't always yield full scholarship rides. And so we had other avenues, but there was one school in particular she wanted to go to. And I often tell this story, and it's also in the book, that I called that particular school, just as Keith mentioned, you can appeal. I called them every Monday without
Uh-huh.
fail. Um, do you have any more scholarship money, any more merit money? We also have this great student, and she wants to go to your school, and you've already accepted her. And I think it's just the persistence factor that it
Mm-hmm.
teaches this particular daughter that there was money. And so after we had accepted this particular offer for this school, about 6 to 8 weeks later, a 50% tuition scholarship arrived. And so it made it so much easier. Uh, to cover the rest of the tuition. There were other scholarships and things that we applied for. My adage is apply for everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you can find it locally, if you can find it in your neighborhood, if you shop at so and so's shop for the last 5 years getting your hair products, you should be asking them to support your child's vision for the future. And so, with that, we continued to pay for college. We also had some friends that had gone before us could tell us you need to stay in this apartment. This off-campus apartment is a little cheaper and safer. You need to go here to get your books. We were doing and renting books from the libraries around the country. We weren't paying the exorbitant rates. for books. We were getting them shuttled across the country for free. So a number of tips like that really helped make it far more affordable. Didn't make it free, but made it affordable.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, obviously, the more we know, the better we're going to be financially. Keith, getting back to you, talk to us for a minute about the free application for federal student loans, student applications, and how do these applications play in?
So the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, is the form that you have to fill out to qualify for any of the federal government's programs. So
Uh-huh.
whether you are struggling financially and you need a grant from the government, or whether you're trying to take out some form of student or parent loan, you have to fill out the form. Now, I end up talking to a lot of families that want to know, well, how direct do I have to be, or how honest do I have to be on the form? It is a federal document. Lying on this document is a federal crime. So it's just a thing to
Absolutely.
keep in mind. You got to keep it straight with the feds because they can check those details.
Absolutely. So, look, talk to us for a minute too. What is a 529 plan?
So, a 529 plan is an educational plan where you can put money away for your students pre-tax. And so, again, if you have a kindergartner, if you have a first grader, and you agree that you're going to put a little bit of money away from your income each year, that money can be accruing interest. It is sitting in an account, it is pre-tax, and you can use it later, not just for college, but for other educational expenses, approved educational expenses as your child gets older.
Now, is there a maximum amount that you can put in the 529, or is it ever too late? Can you do it all the way until the child is ready to go to college, or how does that work?
You can do it all the way, and there are limits. Most people don't ever approach the limits, but you can have enough money in the 529 to cover college and even to cover graduate school. It's
Okay.
it's never too late. Like, obviously, the more time you have, the more money you're going to have. And if a situation happens where you put the money in the 529 and your child gets a full scholarship from a school, you can pass the 529 down to your grandchildren. So you can pass it along.
Okay.
So you don't lose the money.
Is it okay to put little bits of money? I mean, most of the people that we interact with that's probably viewing this show, I mean, they're not rich, rich, rich. So with this plan, can you put in smaller amounts like $50 a month?
Absolutely. I used to belong to a grocery store program where every time I went to the store, they put a small percentage of my purchase in the account. So they were putting 30 cents here and a dollar there into the account. And then I was able to apply that amount to my educational loans later on. What a lot of people don't realize is these tools can be helpful later. It takes the average person 21 years to
Yeah.
pay their way out of undergraduate debt. So these tools are not tools that you have to use immediately. These are tools that you can use going forward, just trying to help alleviate some of the pressure of that debt.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, look, we're all trying to do better, want to do better, and will do better with this kind of information. Torry, what types of scholarships did you use for, maybe some of your other kids who were not quite the 4.0? Like me, I don't know if I could have gotten a scholarship, maybe with the persistence that you endeavored there. But what type of scholarships are there? And I love that about the grocery store, Torry. I mean, I'm sorry, Keith. This is really great. But Torry, get back to you with the talk to us about some types of scholarships that are available.
Sure, sure. Um, as as I mentioned, scholarships are really key. They can be merit
Mhm.
based. based on your academic prowess in school. There were scholarships related to what do you think about volunteerism, right? So it's scholastic in nature, but your neighborhood could provide some awards. Your local fraternities and sororities, really
Yeah,
important. Whether your house of faith or your synagogue or your mosque, whether those folks have particular scholarships. You also may think about your grandparents. Where did they go to school? What veterans of foreign wars? Um, all of those organizations, your local credit union, any and all of those sources are great places to start. Now, mind you, there are much larger organizations, the big retail stores, the big box chains. They have scholarships as well, but understand more people apply to those, so your odds go down. So
yeah,
I tend to think about what's local and close to me, what's close to my students, what kinds of activities were they participating in when they were younger, scouts, all of those kinds of things, and then recognize that every dollar counts. So that what Keith was sharing about even grocery dollars, think about it in scholarship dollars. 250 here, 500 here, 1500 here. That's still all green money. It still all counts. You
yeah.
putting money in in a scholarship that's from the university, those tend to be larger, right? But those are all ways that you can apply. And I just need to put a plug in. In order to get scholarships, you must write essays. You will have to apply. Um,
Good.
at different points in times, your students will just have to hunker down and write an essay. They will have to write why they are deserving of this money and not someone else. And so that's also a part of that process that everybody's got to be on board. These things have due dates. You can't turn them in late. You could have the best scholarship application in the world and you turn it in a minute late. You were late. So again, I encourage people to
Absolutely.
think about folks are investing money in you, so make sure you're investing in that process so that you can get the maximum return.
Absolutely. I have a real quick question for Keith, and Keith, just help us with this very quickly. A lot of parents want to send their kids to college on sports scholarships. What is the probability of that? What percentage of people get these sports scholarships? What would you say?
So the percentage of people that get athletic scholarships is pretty small. And if you play your sport well enough so that you're going to qualify for an athletic scholarship, they probably have come looking for you. You're not going to have to go looking for them. They've scouted you, they know about what you do. It's also important to understand that you have to decide, do you want to be an athlete that goes to school or do you want to be a student who plays sports? If you're an
Ah,
athlete that goes to school and you don't play that sport anymore, the college can ask you to leave. But if you're a
okay.
student who plays a sport, if you get in as a scholar athlete and then ultimately you can't play that sport or you decide not to play that sport, at least you still have the option to go ahead and proceed with your education.
Oh, this is such great information, and kudos to both of you. Let me just ask one last question, and this is for you, Torry, and you, Keith. What smart money moves would you like our viewers to remember? I'll start with you, Torry.
Sure, Marcia, thanks again for the time today. I appreciate the discussion. One smart money move that I will want to leave with you is this thought. When you really save your money, no matter how much, then you can really sow money. You can sow money into your kids, you can sow money into your friends and families, and then you can watch how you really reap money. So it's this nice cycle of saving, sowing, and reaping.
Absolutely. That is so powerful. Thank you so much. Keith, what smart money move would you like to leave with our audience?
So the thing that we tell people at College Thoughts every day is that the people that end up in the pinch in the college process are not the people who are wealthy enough so that the money doesn't matter. And it's not the people who don't have money who are going to qualify for all types of need-based aid. But if you're in the middle somewhere, like the rest of us are, it is important to own your money. it is
Yeah.
important not to create so much debt that your paycheck is spent before it even comes in the house. So if you can own more of your money, you can create more power for yourself in the process, because your negotiation has a lot to do with what you're able to bring to the table. So put yourself in a position where you can bring something to the table, and you're going to have a much easier time figuring out how to pay for college.
This was fantastic information today, and it is such a pleasure to have my guests. I want to thank you guys so much for the discussion, and I want to thank you, especially our audience, for joining us today. For more information on this program, Smart Money Moves, or any other program produced by WHUT, go to WHUT.org. See you next time on Smart Money Moves. And remember, together we can and will make a difference in our community.
This program was produced by WHUT and made possible by contributions from viewers like you. For more information on this program or any other program, please visit our website at WHUT.org. Thank you.